Hello, Eagles, and welcome to Eagle News with Mr. J. It is Wednesday, October 9th. Two birthdays in-house duende today, Miranda Jones and Cameron Milland, and one in-house Kefi, Kenneth Sanders. Happy birthday today. So what's happening this week? Well, today, if you rode a school bus, you probably realized, well, you had some bus evacuation drills today to make sure you are prepared if in case of an evacuation. The only other thing going on this week is going to be house meetings on Friday. I do, though, want to talk about the word stealing. So stealing means you are taking something that doesn't belong to you or something maybe you haven't paid for. So we are starting to see a few students here that are starting to have sticky fingers, especially in the cafeteria, and they are starting to try to steal the ice cream. Well, I don't want us to actually lose the ice cream and no one can buy ice cream because of certain students not making poor choices. But we do want to talk about accountability, because if you are caught stealing, you will have to be held accountable. So if you are in 4th and 5th grade, this is what would happen to you. First, you more likely would probably get a warning, but it all depends on the severity and the cost of what you actually stole. And you can go up to ISS for stealing. If you're a 6th grader, that means you fall in the middle school category. Yours is a lot harsher. Of course, could be a warning, could be ISS, could even potentially be OSS for stealing. So make sure you do not take anything that does not belong to you. Our essential this week is knowledge is speaking and wisdom is listening. This is one of my favorites, and I love students who are able to do this. Even some adults struggle with this. When you're asked a question in conversation, you should ask a question in return. So a lot of times you may see me in the hallway and say, hey, how are you doing today? A lot of people would say, good. Some people don't even respond. But what you should definitely do is tell me, how are you doing? But then in return, ask me, well, how are you doing, Mr. Johnson? If I see you in the hallway, say, how was your weekend? My weekend was great. How was your weekend, Mr. Johnson? So you should always ask that question back in return. But note that this is in a conversation. So if your teacher asks you a question of, hey, what's the square root of 49? You're not going to answer that at 7, then ask them a question in return. That's not a conversation. So make sure you know the difference between a conversation and what your teachers are trying to teach you. But I challenge you to see if you can actually do this and have those good manners. Houses, did you help or hurt your house? We had a lot of houses the other day that went down to 0, and we still have a couple that are still at 0 as well. That is going to be, unfortunately, my house, House Julia. Very disappointed still. House Julia going to stay at 0. There were some better things that happened yesterday in Julia, but still there was something that took place that we cannot go to day 1. And Mudita also will be going to day 0. A couple students just can't keep their hands to themselves. Good job, Kefi, going up to 1 straight day. And way to go, House Duende, 8 consecutive days. Now, this Friday is a house meeting day. And so look at it right now. Mudita, Julia, and Kefi are not going to have Eagle Magic. Duende, you could be the only house that could have Eagle Magic if you can work hard these next 2 days and receive 10 days, 100 house points, and level 2 Eagle Magic. So Duende, you are the only house right now that remains at full health. Mudita, you actually should have lost 2 hearts. As you can see now, 2 stakes are on these hearts. So the stakes were able to keep you from losing your hearts, but unfortunately you still are going to drop down to 0 in consecutive days. House Kevi, you see your number there in House Julia. I still have the emoji there because we've lost another heart. We were down to 5 hearts remaining. Eagle Magic, again, the only house that could possibly have Eagle Magic this upcoming week is going to be House Duende. Kefi and Julia, you are safe this entire week. So if Duende does have Eagle Magic, they unfortunately would not be able to do anything to Kefi or Julia. The shield would protect them on there. And then House Mudita, you now have no more stakes, but you do have 2 bulldozers. Sportsmanship stays the same, and here we go. The stamina meter. Yesterday you were introduced to the stamina meter, and now it begins today. So again, real quick recap as we monitor you in the hallway, whether you're with your class, as a house, or maybe it's just a group of students transitioning to a class, or maybe it's one of you in the hallway and you were unable to follow the expectations of hallway behavior, which is obviously our 3S line, being quiet and orderly. You unfortunately, that meter is going to drop down. So as you can see right now, we all are on the full level. But again, if there is a group, if there's a class, if there's a house during a transition that cannot do well, that meter will fall down. And as you keep going, eventually you're going to hit to the red, which is a heart, which means empty on the stamina meter. So you will lose a heart for your house. At that point, the meter does reset, but it will only reset once you hit 0. So every day we're not coming back and it's back to the start. It is a continuous on here. So tomorrow we'll have some needles, I'm sure, that will no longer be on green. That will be in a different direction. Now, if we notice that your house is doing well, there's a group of students, there's a class that is traveling to Encore, traveling to recess, wherever it may be, and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And we have a few of these classes. That meter in a stick is going to go up. So let's say, for example, House Duende, the 5th graders are not doing well in the hallway. They're not following the expectations. So that meter is going to drop down 1. But then 6th grade, we witness them going to lunch and they're doing a phenomenal job, exactly what they want them to do. That needle now will go back to where it was. So it can go either direction. So make sure your class, your grade level, your house, you're not causing it to go down, but only causing it to go up. And the last thing is, what if we are on the top meter? For example, House Mudita. If they're there and we witness a class that should help your house increase the meter, but there's nowhere else to go, then your house is going to get house points, and maybe even those classes might get golden feathers on there. House Duende, you're still at the top right there, so congratulations to Duende. Mudita not far behind. Kefi's still in there. Julia, you got a little more than 100-point gap right now going between Duende. I hope my Julia can figure it out and get it right before it is too late. Our legacy thought of the day, be the person who can smile on the worst day. We all have bad days, but can you still smile on those worst days? Students, make a great day or not. Choice is yours. We love you, and leave a legacy.